The content you are about to ingest is for mature audiences only. Human written, voiced by AI. Welcome to Bella Vita, Tales of Sidori Island Part 1. Trigger warnings such as cheating, dubious consent, BDSM, secret society, abduction, female revenge, mild torture, and many other kinks and fetishes may occur throughout the story. If you aren't into weird shit, you reserve the option to press stop at any time. If you like weird shit and wish to continue, sit back, do nothing, and enjoy. Episode 5, We Need to Talk.
Dan Hoff receives a notification on his DPN phone. DPN stands for Dan's Private Network. It's where he connects with all of his close friends and industry associates. Along with his reservation confirmation, a video welcoming him to the Citadel Spa and Retreat was sent. Dan grabs his phone off of his desk and presses play.
Welcome to the Citadel Spa and Retreat. Here at the CSR, we believe in high quality and discretion. We believe in making fantasies become realities. Each room is equipped with Arlo, the digital assistant. With Arlo, you can control the lights, room temperature, electronics, curtains, shower, order food, drinks, drugs, women, men, supplies, anything your heart desires. Arlo is there to assist. Simply tell Arlo your needs and wants. Our highly trained staff members are always on call to make sure you have the best experience possible. Feel free to try one of our 7 bars located throughout the retreat. There is even a nudist bar located on the premises. Enjoy drinks, laughter and dancing without the constraints of clothing. Experience a Nuru massage from our exceptional 5-star rated masseuse team. Revel in a unique dining encounter while watching one of our adult-themed stage shows. This month for brunch we are showing Tiffany Moore, The Diary of a Fluffer. And for dinner, Adrenaline Rush, our BDSM feature. We encourage women to try the coconut cream pie. The icing is made of the finest specimen from the RTP facility. Lastly, we encourage our guests to mingle, so it is easy to send digital access to rooms but using the CSR app. Thank you and enjoy your stay at the Citadel Spa and Resort.
Trevor Jackson worked at the Citadel, a 5-star, members-only hotel that accompanies some of the most prestigious people in the world. He has been the maintenance supervisor for the past 3 years. Anytime a VIP is expected, the company assembles certain employees to make sure the guest's experience is as expected. When it comes to maintenance, Trevor is the guy. He is diligent, reliable, and extremely skilled at problem solving. Today was like any other day a VIP was expected. Dan Hoff, the famous film director, was flying in to host an exclusive event. A high level of excellence and discretion is needed from the staff to make this particular event successful.
Rosemarie Ortiz, better known as Rose, lives up to her name. She rose to the ranks of head of hospitality only after 2 years of working for CSR. Her introversion and shyness limits her ability to make friends. She uses her social energy to maximize her quality of work. Her consistency, attention to detail, and lack of associates makes her a valuable company asset. The exclusivity of their roles within the company compelled Trevor and Rose to become very close acquaintances.
Even though today was a normal day for the CSR, it was not a normal day for Trevor. The night prior, he decided it was a good idea to go to a bar and drink away the pain of his girlfriend breaking up with him earlier that afternoon. Even though he knew the relationship had lost its spark, he was still devastated by the actions of his ex. The time is 6:15 a.m. He's behind schedule, hungover, and barely awake. He skips his routine workout and breakfast. He takes a quick shower and speeds to work.
Rose exits the bus and to her surprise does not see Trevor. Trevor is normally at the employee entrance holding the door open for her, saying hello. Trevor would normally express himself deeply about his social life and things going on between him and his girlfriend. Rose didn't have much to share because her social life consisted of long baths, listening to music, and her favorite dark and twisted audio series, Bella Vita. Today their normal interaction didn't occur because he was late. For some reason in that moment, when Trevor wasn't there holding the door for her, smiling and crying about how he hated his girlfriend. The short trip from the bus stop to the employee entrance was enough time for her to think about their first interaction. It was 18 months ago at the holiday party when Trevor accidentally spilled a drink on her dress. He was a little intoxicated and the only word she heard was sorry as he handed her a black handkerchief from his suit jacket. He was saying other words, but the loud music allowed nothing to make sense. So all she could focus on was the look of regret he had in his eyes, but underneath the regret was something else she believed she saw. Maybe it was his brown eyes reflecting the lights from the DJ booth. Maybe it was his sweet aromatic cologne, adding to the effects of the 2 glasses of wine she had earlier. It could have been the gentle touch of his hand on her bare shoulder as he was apologizing for spilling the drink. Either way, she knew she had some sort of affection towards Trevor. As soon as she met Trevor, she instantly felt safe. She felt safe for the first time after leaving her abusive ex 2 years ago.
It's 6:59 and Trevor bolts through the employee door just in time for the staff briefing, where the general manager provides everyone's expectations for the day. Rose, not paying the GM any attention, sees the look of panic and relief on Trevor's face as he sits on the other side of the room. The GM's voice diminishes as she continues to stare at Trevor. The briefings usually last for about 15 to 20 minutes. Once the department gets their instructions for the day, they leave and complete their tasks. Nothing really changes on the housekeeping end because the work is repetitive unless extra detail is needed. The housekeeping instructions are wrapping up when Trevor makes eye contact with Rose while she is staring at him. After a 2 seconds eye lock, the GM's voice goes silent in Trevor's ears as he reminisces about his first encounter with Rose. He was at the company holiday party with his ex-girlfriend. His girlfriend goes to the bathroom while he goes to the bar to grab drinks for him and his girlfriend. On the way back to their area, he stumbles into Rose as she is placing her empty wine glass on the high-top table where she was standing alone. Trevor's summer breeze on the rocks spilled into the back and side of her blue spaghetti-strapped dress with a low back. He places the drinks down next to her wine glass and he apologizes. He hands her a handkerchief and offers to dry her off, but HR and his girlfriend might not appreciate his action. He tells her keep his handkerchief and he will return to check on her. Of course, his check-in never came. Him and his girlfriend left shortly after. All of the regular staff left the briefing. Rose is in charge of the special requests for the Dan suite. Dan has his own imported water, wines, bath products, and sheets flown in from regions around the world. Rose receives her specific instructions and makes her way to the suite. The GM is giving Trevor his tasks to complete. Trevor is to make sure everything in the suite is in working order. Before heading to the suite, he has a few rooms that need minor repairs. He decides to do the minor repairs first to give Rose some time to work alone to avoid being on top of each other. He makes his way to the elevator.
Rose is in the suite perfecting the bed. Rose's precision to make sure not one wrinkle in the sheets is a true skill that can't be taught. The most difficulty she has at her job is when she has to clean in high places. Being 5 feet adds a small challenge to reach certain places. It takes a level of patience and comfort to be as skilled as she is. Because her job is behind the scenes, CSR's management team is flexible and allows her uniform to be more relaxed. They asked her what she wanted her uniform to be, and all it entailed was leggings and working barefoot. She emphasized it was her way to ground and connect with the room's energy. Her work methods were the least of their concern as long as she did her job at a high level. After 2 hours into cleaning, the inventory was filled and the bed was made to perfection. It was time to dust and to make sure everything was spotless, focusing on the small details.
The elevator dings and Trevor exits and walks to the only room on the 22nd floor. Room 2211, the Royal Suite. It has 1 bedroom, full-sized kitchen, a living area with fireplace. The bathroom has heated floors, a shower with multiple shower heads including a rain head. It also has his and her sinks with a hot tub located in the corner. The bathroom alone is larger than most primary bedrooms. There is even a private elevator for guests' privacy. Everything in the room is digital and can be controlled by Arlo. Trevor enters the room and begins running his tests to make sure everything is in working order. He starts giving voice commands to the appliances and other digital systems. He checks the lights and the other electronics in the living space. Everything is in working order. The appliances in the kitchen seem to be fine. He walks to the bedroom to check the lights and the temperature controls. Everything is working. As he walks towards the bathroom, he voice commands the shower to turn on. Before his foot crosses over the threshold to the bathroom, he hears a scream.
Rose's love for her dark, twisted audio series is only a small portion of her affection for the arts. She also enjoys music and dancing. With her earbuds in her ears and a rag in her hand, she becomes seductive. It's not her dance moves that make her seductive, it's her natural fluid nature of purely existing. When anyone sees her in her true form, they become instantly hypnotized. She works alone, so not too many people get to experience it. This time it was the music that had her in a cleaning trance as she wipes down the walls of the suite's massive shower. Suddenly it's interrupted by a jolt of cold water coming from the multiple shower heads. She screams.
This episode of Bella Vita Tales of Sidori Island Part 1 is sponsored by...
Here's the plot. A serial killer's last victim survives and is rescued and treated by the best first responder team in the city. The victim is treated at the hospital by a world-renowned doctor who learns the victim has a rare disease. While the police force and FBI are searching for the serial killer, the hospital staff and doctor race to find a cure for the rare disease of the lone survivor of a serial killer. Suddenly, a terrorist plot on the hospital is uncovered and a special ops unit has to intervene before the hospital is destroyed, and the doctor never finds a cure for the lone survivor of the serial killer who the cops need as a witness to help find out who it is. That's their network series plots, not ours. You can clearly tell, over here we ain't them and they ain't us. Bella Vita Tales of Sidori Island Part 1 isn't just a story, it's an experience. And for those who want to take the potion and go deeper, to uncover the secrets behind the scenes, there's only one place to do it: Patreon. When you subscribe, you get ad-free early access to episodes, exclusive character details, and behind-the-scenes content that takes you inside the mind of the creator. Think of it as your all-access pass to the world of Bella Vita. Visit patreon.com/The Felix Network and join us. Because over here, we are something different.
Before Trevor has a chance to use his voice to turn off the shower, he sees Rose standing there drenched in water as she is manually turning off the shower heads. They are now face to face at the doorway of the shower. Time begins to slow down just like in the movies. Their eyes lock and she sees the look of regret, but underneath the regret she again sees something else. Trevor's eyes break connection for a brief second as he notices the effects of the cold water over her body. It takes less than a millisecond for dopamine to be released through the human body. The weight of the water has her shirt pressed against her and the shapes of her nipples are now defined. Trevor notices her silky black hair that stops right above the cups of her breasts was dripping with water. He followed the droplets down to her freshly painted white toenails before regaining eye contact. Those few seconds feel as if they have been staring at each other for hours. Before he can say any words to apologize, his focus was diverted.
During those brief seconds, regret was no longer the message from his eyes. Experts suggest that 85% of communication is nonverbal. Being introverted made body language Rose's primary form of communication. Trevor's eyes were sending a message along with the front of his khakis, which triggered her next course of action. In one swift move, she reaches for the manual shower controls and proceeds to turn the shower back on. Her body's response is much different. This time she is in control. She sees a look of confusion on Trevor's face. She keeps contact with his eyes, takes out her earbuds and slowly removes her shirt. She throws her shirt and earbuds onto the shower floor. Standing in only her bra and leggings, she signals for Trevor to enter the shower with one hand as she unhooks her bra with the other.
Without thought or hesitation, Trevor removes his blue-collared work shirt and tosses it. By the time his shirt hits the floor, he was doused in water just inches away from Rose. The water is the perfect temperature. His height of 6'2" forces him to look down at Rose to see the look of determination and seduction on her face. He grabs her lower back with both hands and pulls her close as he presses his drenched tank top against her naked body. He bends his legs ever so slightly, now her ass is within reach of his grasp. She understands her assignment as he applies an upward thrust under her nicely curved cheeks. With her arms wrapped behind his neck, she hoisted her legs around his waist, locking them tightly. Their lips meet with violent passion as he carries her to the shower wall.
It isn't just the water from the shower or the saliva from the deep kissing making her physically wet. It's Trevor. Everything led to this moment. The honesty in his eyes, the scent of his cologne as he passes her in the morning, his nicely groomed beard. But right now, it's his manly hands gripping her. Rose's already stimulated body has reached the next level. Every time his tongue wraps around hers, a jolt shoots through the thousands of nerve fibers in her pussy. Adding the constant pulsations coming from his crotch, she has never felt such intensity in pleasure.
Trevor hears the deep breaths and underlying moans in his ear as he kissed her neck. He turns towards the shower bench and stands Rose up on the bench. She begins to pull up his tank top in an attempt to take it off. The oversaturation of water has it stuck to his muscular body. He assists in taking off his shirt and throws it to the shower floor. His focus is back on Rose. He reaches behind the backside of her leggings and places his fingers in the waistband, struggling to pull them down. The unsexy art of taking off wet clothes added a bit of humor to their situation as their laughs echo in the shower. She puts her hands on Trevor's shoulders for support and wiggles to help his challenging conquest. Finally, one leg is free as she lifts her leg to remove her foot. At that very second, he looks up and catches a glimpse of his soon-to-be lunch. He pulls the other pant leg from around her ankle and directs Rose to hold onto him. She once again wraps her arms and legs around him and they exit the shower. His hands only cover a portion of her bare ass. He vocally commands the shower to turn off while he carries her out of the bathroom and into the bedroom. He can feel the warmth of his meal pressed against his abs. His lips and tongue has a grip on her neck like a vampire's death bite. He leans forward and drops her on the bed covered in imported freshly made sheets. Gravity's momentum was just enough that when she hits the bed, she bounces, giving her a split second of airtime.
All Rose can think is, no words are necessary, as she lies with her naked, wet body on a perfectly made bed with imported sheets that was prepared for Dan Hoff, the famous movie director. She sits up towards Trevor and reaches for his belt. She goes back and forth between looking in his eyes and his belt as she unbuckles. She sees excitement in both places. His gentle eyes are whispering pleasure, while whatever beast is locked behind his waterlogged zipper was screaming to be released. The belt and top button are undone as she pries open his pants, forcing the zipper to unlock. If it wasn't for the constant throbbing, she would think what she is witnessing was unreal. His zipper was at its lowest point and all she can see is the shape of his shaft, while its head is still hidden. She puts her hand between the zipper opening and uses her wrist to assist in pulling down the pants as she searches for the hidden piece. The pants drop and she finds the lost head. She's thinking whatever monster is beneath his undergarment feels very alive as it pulsates in her hand. She reaches up and pulls down the front of his boxer briefs. Exposing the freshly shaved pubic region and base of the shaft, he helps the rest of the way. His pants and briefs are to his ankles and his dick is pointing directly in her face. A trail of clear liquid is leaking out of the hole. He steps out of his shoes and pants as Rose licks her hand and slides her hand from Trevor's oozing tip all the way to his balls. Her thumb and middle finger are unable to meet as 60% of his dick can't be contained inside of her small hands. Rose attempts to lean in.
Trevor places his index finger on her lips and gently pushes her back onto the bed. He kneels down. While she is resting on her elbows, he stares at her using his fingertips to barely caress her thighs. Slowly moving his fingers down to her knees, Rose feels a slight tickling sensation. She takes an extended blink to gather her thoughts. Before she can absorb everything that is happening, she feels a warm sensation from her left big toe to the arches in her foot, then back to the big toe. Trevor was no longer visible from her perspective. Her eyes go back closed, her sense of sight is no longer needed. She has to rely on touch. Trevor places her big toe completely in his mouth, causing her to create a creamy buildup between her legs. One by one, each toe is waiting to be devoured as his tongue slides in between each of them, looking for its next victim. There is no more area to cover on the left foot, so the right is next. Each time a toe goes missing in Trevor's mouth, the more Rose leaks onto the sheets, accompanied by soft moans. She feels a warm sensation moving up her calf that's similar to the sensations on her feet.
Suddenly, Rose feels a pair of hands wrapping around her thighs as she's abruptly pulled closer to the edge of the bed. She opens her eyes, her hamstrings are resting on Trevor's shoulders and all she can see is the top of his curly brown hair. She feels the air from his warm breath passing through the short hairs surrounding her pussy, giving her enough information for her to assume what's next. Her eyes roll back, her body tenses up, as Trevor's tongue splits open her lips, which is barely being held together by viscid fluid. His tongue finds his way to her clit. She lets out a moan as she uses her legs as leverage on his back so she can arch hers. He pulls her in tighter. The moans get more intense. He presses firmly on her clit with his tongue. The more attention he shows her clit, the more she wiggles uncontrollably. Her toes are pointing downward and her legs are beginning to shake. She grabs the back of his head, holding on to the small amount of hair she can grip. She feels his middle and ring finger pressing against her upward wall. His tongue is rapidly moving in various directions on her clit. Rose is shaking uncontrollably as her pussy squirts all over Trevor's face. It is her first time. She covers her mouth with her hands and lets out a high-pitched squeal. She doesn't know if it's leftover water from the shower, pee, or some strange bodily secretion. All she knows, something wet is shooting out of her and it feels amazing. Rose doesn't mind she can no longer feel her legs or that the imported sheets are being destroyed. At this point she doesn't have a care in the world.
Trevor emerges with remnants of her juices from his lunch dripping from his beard. They stare at each other and they both see the look of satisfaction in each other's eyes. As soon as he places his knee on the bed, Rose sits up and pushes him down on the bed. She leans over top of him. She grabs whatever piece of his big dick that can fit into her hands, moves toward his face to kiss him. She sticks out her tongue and licks the leftovers from Trevor's lunch and works her tongue down to his chest, following the path of his nipples to his belly button. Rose is still holding onto Trevor's dick, barely fitting in her hand, trying to tame the uncontrollable movements of his monster. She gathers up some saliva and launches spit at what can be mistaken as a third leg. She greedily gobbles the whole thing until the head touches the back of her throat, making her gag. She releases and lets out a small cough, adding more saliva to the already stringy saliva connected between her lips and his dick tip. A water droplet rolls out of her eye and down her cheek as she resumes sucking his dick. She can taste a hint of salt in his pre-cum mixed in with her spit. She takes both of her spit-drenched hands and twists while she tries to suck his soul out of his tiny hole. His groans get deeper the faster she bobs, twists, and jerks. She takes the excess slobber and massages his balls with it. Trevor quickly grabs his dick and pulls away to prevent himself from coming. A small amount comes out in his hand and he uses it as more lubricant for his shaft.
Rose looks up at Trevor with a smug face as drool and pre-cum drips down the side of her mouth. He moves his leg from under her arm and gets out of bed. He's standing on the side of the bed. She rolls over to her back with one knee up and her foot on the bed with the other leg spread ever so slightly apart, hanging off the side of the bed. The two go back to staring at each other. They try to maintain eye contact but both keep getting distracted. She starts from his eyes, to his abs, to his dick, and he goes from her eyes, to her butter pecan nipples, to her extremely saturated pussy. Both are dripping from excitement. Rose begins to smile and before her smile makes it ear to ear, she ends up on her belly and a smack lands right on her ass. She lets out a moan. Rose is immediately hoisted up by her waist. She's in the bed face down, on her knees, her back perfectly arched, with her ass pointed to the ceiling. She hears a slurp, feels air and spit hits both of her holes, followed by Trevor's tongue evenly spreading their fluids. She feels his hands spread apart her ass cheeks, allowing her to brace for Trevor's 9 inches. She screams as his tip penetrates her slippery vaginal entrance. The deeper he goes, the more her pussy grips his dick and the more her hands grip the sheets. She feels him pull back, leaving just the tip in. Then he thrusts again, this time with more power. Again and again, each time with more power. He finds his steady rhythm. It feels like a dance to her and she enters her comfort zone. The music was the sounds of fluid smacking and body clapping, making a harmonious noise echoing across the room. Their synchronized moans adds a beautiful melody.
Just when Rose thinks she has reached her zenith, Trevor holds her by the waist as he pushes in his pelvis to give her every inch of his dick. He is stopped by her back wall. She makes a deep moan and falls flat on her stomach and pulls him with her by using her Kegel grip. His hands stop him from falling on her. He feels her throw it back into him and it sends lightning bolts of gratification through his body, causing him to quiver. He regains his balance and leans up just enough to send a ball of spit down to her as adding more lubrication. He rubs his thumb around her booty hole and gives it a gentle press. She reaches beside her and grabs a pillow. He presses a little harder. She moans a little louder. His thrusts and presses are in tandem until his press became a push. He is thumb knuckle deep inside of her butt. Her loud moans can be heard muffled through the pillow. He gives a few more pushes and thrusts. Soon as he pulls out of both holes, she wets the sheets again and lets out another scream.
Rose doesn't know if she is feeling embarrassment, regret, a sensory overload of pleasure, or even love. All she knows is, 1 minute she's on her belly getting pounded, feeling her legs going numb, and the next minute, her legs are resting on Trevor's shoulders. She thinks she must have passed out for a quick second because she can't remember turning over or being turned over. All she knows is Trevor is a hard-working maintenance man who is maintaining all of her needs. Her C-cup breasts are bouncing with each one of his strokes. She sees determination on his face. She understands why he's the supervisor. He does his job and does it well. She looks down to get a better look of him smoothly sliding in and out of her. She can see a buildup of creamy residue on his dick. She takes her hand while he is on his outstroke and gathers her cream and starts rubbing her clit. Her vigorous rubs makes her moans vibrato. He takes her legs off of his shoulder as she spreads eagle, continuously rubbing herself. They lock eyes, he leans in mid-stroke and they kiss passionately in between their grunts and groans. He leans back up, maintaining his rhythm. She sees goosebumps beginning to form on his shoulders. She takes her free hand and wipes away the sweat on his chest. His eyes begin to roll and they close shut. Her legs start to tingle. He grabs the base of his shaft and begins to retreat. Her grip tightens. He pulls all the way out and shoots a massive load. Most of it lands on her belly, but portions of it reach as far as her neck. He plops down beside her on the bed as they both breathe heavily.
Trevor's deep breaths after ejaculating send him into a deep relaxed state. No words are exchanged between the two. As Rose continues to lie on her back, she can feel Trevor's cum beginning to dry up on her naked body. She glances over at Trevor and sees his soft penis looking defeated after a vicious battle. Suddenly she hears snores coming from Trevor. His hands are resting interlocked on his abs as he appears to be sound asleep. Rose sits up and sees that his eyes are completely closed. She gets out of the bed and walks into the bathroom. She grabs her phone from the bathroom sink and sits down to pee. She unlocks her phone and goes to her messaging app and sends a text saying it's done. She finishes peeing and walks to the shower to retrieve her wet clothes. Upon grabbing her wet clothes, she makes her way to the walk-in closet and takes one of the robes that were hanging up. She quietly walks around the bed to the private elevator and leaves Trevor alone in the room. The elevator door closes and Trevor rolls over. Reaching his hand down to the floor, he grabs his pants, goes inside his right pocket and pulls out his phone, opens his messaging app and texts it's done.
On the next episode of Bella Vita, after her meeting with Jojo, Dominique's life was forever changed. Unknown to her, a few investigative blog posts, naughty spy web searches, and a spicy trip to the maintenance closet will be her path to running a multi-billion-dollar empire. How does she explain to Cheyenne, her best friend since childhood, why she's been promoted from cashier to one of the island's most powerful people? What does she say? Explaining the how's, whys, and what's of her new dominating role is the easy part. The hard part is whether she tells Cheyenne damaging information regarding someone close to her. Some things are best left unsaid, and as for other things, that's for Dom to decide.